Alright, I got the truck loaded up. I'm gonna haul in the first load today. It's warming up. And this truck's actually got a pretty cool backstory. I'll get into that probably while I'm waiting at the elevator. But this is gonna be the grain truck video. I mentioned it in the last video I believe I posted, so I will get to hauling. Truck's been warming up for a couple minutes, so I will bring you guys back and tell you guys the story about it. Well, this is the most backed up I've ever seen it here. We're at 80 mpar, but we got a line of, I don't know, 15 semis waiting to get on the scale, and then probably another 25 waiting to unload. They're parked across the street, it's so full. So we got a wait ahead of us. It'll be a while. I was hoping to get one more load hauled in today, but we will see. Alright, so sitting in these long lines like this, I actually end up shutting the truck off. These old gasoline motors like to overheat if they just sit in one spot and idle. I have not had that problem with this truck, but I don't really want to test it out and see if it's going to have that problem. I've sat in some shorter lines and it sits here and idles, and I've not had a problem with it, but like say this line, it's going to be a couple hours, I bet. But this truck actually has a really cool story. It is actually a 1981 International 1700, and it's got the hopper bottom on it. Somebody obviously made that, but it's a big block 404 International motor with the MT643 Allison transmission behind it. So it's actually an automatic. It's got a little selector down here. You just put it in, you can just put it in drive and go, or you can go down to 1 and bump it up if you're really heavy and want to control when it shifts. It actually does really good just in drive. This load, I'm fitting about 375 bushel average on it. I've had a couple loads a little bit smaller. I had one yesterday that was 388 bushel. That was pretty full. This load's probably going to end up being my biggest load. We're probably pushing 400, which is as full as you can possibly get it, pushing corn into the corners and risking dumping a little bit over the side if you hit the wrong bump. But let me show you guys. It's got your parking brake right here, just the manual brake that's on the back of the transmission. Flip that down and it's off, pull it up and it's on. Selector, just button, select your gear. Typical dash. Fuel gauge is backwards. If it says you are empty, you're actually full, and if it says you're full, you're actually empty. I don't know how that happened. Sending unit got hooked up wrong. Speedometer says you're going about half as fast as you're actually going, so that's interesting. Temperature gauge does not actually work. Like I say, I haven't had a problem with it overheating though. Oil pressure gauge and voltage. The oil pressure and voltage actually work. But this truck actually has a pretty cool story with it. So I bought it off of a guy in southern-ish Indiana, all the way down to forgetting where I even went. I had to pull out my phone and look. I actually forgot where I'd went. It was Poland, Indiana. So I drove down to Poland, Indiana, me and my buddy, and we got there, ended up looking it over. Looks pretty nice. Decided, bought it, drove it home 4 hours through the hills. Only problem I had was I pushed it a little bit too hard in some of the rolling hills down there around the bends, and it got a little bit hot on us doing that. I was trying to run it a little bit faster than you probably should have. It is a 1981 with the 4-speed automatic. So ended up letting it cool down at a gas station for 15-20 minutes, and then took back off and slowed it down a little, and never gave us another problem the whole way home. It'll run about 55 miles an hour pretty easy. Anything over that, doesn't really appreciate it. But the guy that I got it off of actually drove up here, you know, the 4 hours north of him, and bought a grain truck off of my grandpa probably back in 2016-ish. So it was kind of ironic. He had the box off of that grain truck. He had taken the box off. He used it for a couple years and then wanted to upgrade trucks to something a little more reliable. It was an old white Ford dump bed. And then, ironically enough, he drove up here and picked this truck up from a guy even a little bit north of us, drove it back down, and then he never really used it. He upgraded to a semi the next year. So it pretty much just sat for a year and a half. But the guy he bought it off of actually bought it off of a guy by the name of Brad Mack. And Brad was a local farmer just down the road from us. He passed away a couple years ago, but before he did, he'd retired from farming, and we actually have a little bit of stuff from him, and he kind of bought and sold equipment after he retired from farming. So we've bought some stuff off of him a few times. And this truck was originally his. I believe he's the one that built it. He put the box on it. And then when he retired from farming, a farmer just a little bit north of us, I do not know him, bought the truck, used it for several years. He used it as his planting rig. He pulled an auger behind it. It's got a real nice hitch on it, and just used it as a seed tender. But when I went and looked at it, or before I even went and looked at it, we thought maybe it was the truck from Brad Mack originally, but we weren't sure. And then when I got there and asked the guy who he bought it from, he said a name and I didn't recognize it, but he said he'd only bought it 2 years ago. So I thought I'd look back into it a little bit, and then I didn't even have to look far. There is a local repair shop that we go to sometimes, and they have these orange tags that they put on your key, and they write your last name on it, and it has Mac written on it. And I seem to remember, I mean, it was years and years ago, Brad actually taking it there and having them do a little bit of work on it. So that was really cool. I noticed that on the way home, that especially that orange tag is still on there, because I probably still have a couple of those on some of my vehicles. Just whenever you drop them off there, they put them on, and then you never even think to take them off. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, it was ironic that this truck came from up here, from a guy that had drove up here years ago and bought a truck off of my grandpa. Interesting, small world. We actually did some world traveling, I tell people, when we went and picked it up. We crossed the Rio Grande, we went through Egypt and Peru, Brazil, and ended up in Poland, all names of towns in Indiana. The Rio Grande was actually just the name of a road that we've crossed over top of, which I thought was funny. So we crossed the Rio Grande into Brazil. I think it's literally the road right outside of Brazil, Indiana. But yeah, I told everybody we went world traveling and bought a truck from Poland. You just leave out the Indiana part. So I thought that was a cool story. Thought you guys would enjoy hearing that, but other than that, I got a flat tire on it last weekend, but my other grain truck, since it's down, had some pretty good tires on the rear axle, so we just went and robbed a couple of them. The other grain truck has a blown radiator and needs some carb work, and I didn't have time to get that done before the start of harvest, so I ran down and picked this up just so that way we could get into it. I plan to eventually fix that truck, but this one's running so good it'll probably get us through the season, and then in the off time maybe I'll get a chance to go out there and actually work on that. But I haven't had a problem out of it yet, other than flat tire. Blew a hole in the inner sidewall of the inner dual on the driver's side. Luckily it must have blown on the way home, because I didn't notice it. I did the walk around, check the tires before I left, and then when I got back home and reloaded it, I noticed that the tire was flat before I took off again, so luckily it didn't take out or blow out going down the road with a full load or anything, so it wasn't a real problem. Biggest problem was jacking it up with a full load of grain on it, but we got it done. So, if I think anything else, I will bring you guys back. Other than that, though, I'm going to sit here in this line and wait to unload. I haven't moved since I got here. These guys rolled up a little bit. I'm actually in front of this guy and the guy right in front of him, but with the 2 lanes, they'll get up there and then let this outer lane start going. There must have been a couple of guys in the inner lane that were ahead of the outer lane. So, I will bring you guys back if anything interesting happens, but other than that, I just got a real long wait ahead of me. Yeah, you can see semis parked across the road over there waiting to unload. People were sitting on the scale for 15 minutes waiting to drive off the scale because it's so backed up. Everybody's in full swing of corn harvest, including us. Alright, well, I'm the next one on the scale, so figured I'd take you guys along. So we just pull on. They got a straight truck box and then a semi box for scanning your card, to where they can still reach you with the probe to get the sample. You got a card you scan, just scan that card, and then wait on the green light up there. You got a red light right now. Yep, I do believe this is definitely the heaviest load. I think I hit 32,000 exactly on the last one, so I got an extra 440 pounds of grain in there. We're going to be pushing 400 bushel. I don't know if it'll quite be there, but it'll for sure be in the 390s. So I just felt them. They put the probe in. You probably seen the weight change. Now I got a green light. So I pull off the scale. Can't go anywhere once I get off of it, but I don't even know who I'm after over here. I believe this Sherlock. Alright, I get it. Okay, so I've had this video for a little while, and I forgot to shoot an ending to it, so I figured I'd come out and shoot an ending, show you guys Dingleberry. He's fat and ready for winter. Oh, I didn't bring him any corn, so he's mad. But he's out here running the winter pasture with the cows. I also got a new truck, 2011 Duramax, for towing and farm work. Tuned and deleted, obviously. Can't have that deaf around here. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I hope you enjoyed watching the grain truck, hearing the story of it. Holds 375 to 390 bushel pretty consistently every load. Been treating us good. Still got a few loads to haul in this winter, but we're getting pretty close to the end. So thought I'd come show you the cows and then finally get this video out. Like I say, I've had it for quite a while, but didn't have an ending for it. One other thing, I know a lot of you guys like Dingleberry. He is getting a little bit older, and we would like to keep some of his calves. So there is the potential that we'll be looking for a new bull. If anybody's interested in him, drop a comment, and then my email is in the description of the video, or go to the actual Nap Farms YouTube page and you'll find the email. So you can probably find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. If anybody's interested in Dingleberry, there's the potential that we will be selling him or trading if somebody has a comparable bull. It does not have to be a Hereford, but we're kind of open. It would have to be a pretty good bull though. He is a little bit older, but he's got a couple of years of good breeding left in him, I think. And you guys have seen his calves for years. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment. And as always, have a good one.